Today we are talking about how to solve and plot a quadratic equation. First off, you want to know what is a quadratic equation. Well, a quadratic equation is a polynomial equation of degree 2, and it's in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Now, the a, b, and c are all coefficients of this equation. This becomes very important, and that is your quadratic equation. Now, you might be wondering, how in the world can we solve a quadratic equation? Well, we have a technique called factoring. So if we have, let's see, x squared plus 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. Now what you're going to do is get your little brackets like this and set them equal to 0. Now you have to think about what multiplies to get 1 but adds to get 2. Well, let's take this over here. So 1. What can you multiply to get 1? Well, 1 times 1 is equal to 1. 1 times 0 is not equal to 1. So as you can see, the only factors of 1 are 1 times 1. Now, what adds up to equal 2? Well, 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. Well, now that we have our factors, this is what we can do. And if you notice, we have 2 plus signs right here. And we also have to take that into consideration in what goes in the middle. Well, since we have 2 plus signs, we can put 2 plus signs here. And we have to have our x's because of our x squared. And then we have our two terms, which is x and x, is 1 and 1. So we can put those right here. And that's how you factor an equation like this. Now what you want to do with these two is set each of them equal to 0. So if we go over here, it will be x plus 1 is equal to 0, and also another x plus 1 is equal to 0. Now, solve for x. X is equal to negative 1. Also over here, x is equal to negative 1. Now, we have our solution. X equals negative 1. Now, you don't have to say negative 1 twice because it's a double root. Let's do one more example. Let's say we have x squared plus 9x minus, let's see, what can we say? 5. Now, if you see this, there's not any factors that we can do 5 to add up and equal 9, because we have 5 times 1 is equal to 5, and that's it. 5 is a prime number. That's the only factors that we have of that. Well, 5 plus 1 is not equal to 9. So how are we going to solve this equation? Well, we can go over that in the next video. Well, as you can see, we can use the quadratic equation. So what the quadratic equation is, it's negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, as you remember from the first video, a, b, and c are the coefficients. So our coefficient on the x squared is going to be 1. b is equal to 9, and c is equal to negative 5. So a is equal to 1, B is equal to 9, and C is equal to -5. Now, all you have to do is plug this into the equation, and you can get what x is equal to. X is equal to -9 plus or minus square root 9 squared minus 4 times 1 times -5 all over 2 times 1. Now what you can do is make this equation, simplify it, and you can get what x is equal to. I don't have my calculator with me, but this is what your two roots are. Now if you notice, you have the plus and the minus. This is going to give you your two solutions. Now that's another thing. When you have a squared on here, anytime, if it was just a 1, you would have one solution. Since you have 2 right here, you're going to have 2 solutions, and so forth. So if you have a cubic equation, it's going to be 3 roots, and then 4, and so on. That's how many roots you can have. Now, whether or not they're imaginary or not, that's a different story. Next, we're going to talk about graphing. Now, how to graph an equation like this. So let's go back to our first example of x squared plus 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. Well, remember, when we factored it, we got x plus 1 is equal to 0, x is equal to -1. Well, what you want to do is plug this x back into the equation. That way you can get the y. What is it equal to? Well, obviously this is when y is equal to 0. So let's go ahead and get a graph. Make sure you scale it. X and y. This one's positive, positive, negative, negative. Okay, so when y is 0, x is equal to -1. Now, if you think about it, our parent function is y equals x squared. So let's go ahead and just put that on there. When x is equal to 1, what is it? Y is also equal to 1. So we can plot that point right there. And the same goes for -1. When y is equal to this, when x is 2, y is equal to 4. Same goes on the other side. So 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 will be right here. Now, if you notice, what we have right here is just our parabola moved over. So you can plot the same thing. And now you can connect the dots. And there you go. There's your graph. Now, a nifty tool that we have is our graphing calculators. And an easy way to find out how to graph a quadratic equation is just put it in your calculator. So what you want to do is hit y equals. Now, as you can tell, what you can do is you can plot different equations. I went ahead and put in our equation from our last example, x squared plus 2x plus 1, and it already has the y equals for you. So let me show you how to type this in real quick. You can press clear. Now you go to your variable x, caret top, and go to squared plus 2x plus 1. And now if you look, there we have our equation. Now what you can do is go to graph, and there you go. There's your parabola.